Welcome to The Explainer. You know, building a company today, it's a wild ride. So today, we're going to try something ambitious. We're taking the wisdom from some of the absolute classic books on startups and weaving it all together into one single clear journey.
All right, let's kick things off with this one. It's a really powerful and honestly kind of counterintuitive idea. We all think startups fail because they run out of money, right? That they starve. But that's not the whole story. The truth is, most startups don't starve. They drown. They get swamped by too many good ideas, too many features, and just a total lack of focus. So really, this whole journey is about one thing: learning how to swim.
And that's the real problem, isn't it? It's not like there's a shortage of advice out there. You're flooded with it. But what's missing is a clear map. We've got all these tactics, but where's the strategy? How do you actually get from that little spark of an idea all the way to a real sustainable business without just getting completely lost in the noise?
So, to get our bearings, we gotta start with this brilliant distinction from Nir Eyl's book, Hooked. Think about it this way. A lot of new products are like vitamins. You know, they're nice to have. They might make things a little better. But are they essential? Not really. The real goal, is to build a painkiller, something that solves a genuine, throbbing pain point for your user. A problem so annoying that once you solve it for them, they can't even imagine going back to the old way.
Okay, so that brings us right to our first stop on the map, the spark. And it all begins with freedom and value. You see, according to Chris Guillebeau's The $100 Startup, this whole thing doesn't start with some 100-page business plan. No, it starts with a simple idea. An idea that's all about what gives you freedom and what provides real value to other people. And this is such a crucial point. People don't buy features, they buy benefits. They don't buy what your product is, they buy what it does for them, emotionally. So a feature is just a description, right? A 500-page book. Okay, great. But the benefit, that's the emotional payoff. Everything you need to finally master a new skill. See the difference? One's a fact, the other's a feeling. A transformation. And that's what people actually buy.
Yeah, this quote from Chris Guillebeau just hits the nail on the head. It's the sweet spot. It's not enough to just follow your passion. That's only half the equation. You have to find that magic intersection, that convergence between what you truly love doing and what someone else has a problem so big they're literally out there looking to pay someone to solve. All right, next up, the search. So you think you found that sweet spot. Awesome. Now what? Well, here's the thing. Your brilliant idea? It's really just a guess. It's a hypothesis. So it's time to get out of the building. You've got to go find out if your guess is actually right.
And this definition from Steve Blank and Bob Dorff, it's absolutely fundamental. You have to get this. A startup is not a small version of a big company. It's not. A big company's job is to execute a business model it already knows works. But a startup is a temporary organization designed for one purpose: to search for a scalable, repeatable, profitable business model. That one word, search, it changes everything. You're not executing a plan. You're a detective, testing a series of clues or hypotheses.
So what's your main tool in this search? It's the MVP, the minimum viable product. And let's be super clear. This is not your final, beautiful, polished product. Not even close. It's the absolute bare-bones version you can create to start learning. I mean, it could just be a simple web page, maybe a quick video explaining the idea, or an app with just one single feature. The whole point isn't to make sales, it's to get validated learning.
And this search has an engine. It comes from Eric Ries's The Lean Startup, and it's called the Build, Measure, Learn loop. It's a feedback cycle, and it's your new best friend. First, you build that MVP to test a specific idea. Then you measure how real customers react. And I mean with real hard data, not just fuzzy vanity metrics. And finally, you learn from that data. That learning tells you one of two things. Either you're on the right track and should keep going, or it's time to change course.
And that brings us to maybe one of the most important ideas in the whole startup world, the pivot. When the data tells you your big idea was wrong, you don't just pack up and go home. You don't fail, you pivot. Now, a pivot isn't just chaos. It's not randomly changing your mind. It's a structured course correction. I love this analogy. It's like keeping one foot planted firmly in what you've already learned while you move your other foot to test a new big idea.
Okay, so let's move on to the next phase.
the hook. You've searched, you've probably pivoted a few times, and guess what? You've actually found a business model that works. People are using your thing. That's amazing. But the journey's not over. Now you have a new challenge. How do you make your solution completely indispensable?
This is where Near EL's hook model comes in. It's a brilliant breakdown of how products actually build habits. It's a 4-step loop. It starts with a trigger, right? The little cue to action. It could be an email or it could be something internal, like just feeling bored. That trigger leads to an action, the simplest possible thing you can do, like scrolling or clicking. And what do you get? A variable reward. This is key. It's not predictable. It's like a slot machine for information. It scratches the itch, but leaves you wanting more. And finally, you make an investment. You put a little something in. You like a post, you add a friend, you save some data. That little bit of work makes the service better for you next time, and it loads the next trigger. This loop, it's the secret engine inside every app you just can't seem to put down.
All right, so now we get to the dilemma. Your product is a bona fide success. It's a hit. It's become a habit for your users. You're growing like crazy. Life is good, right? Well, maybe not, because this is exactly when the most dangerous part of the journey begins. As Clayton Christensen warns us in The Innovator's Dilemma, your own success can become your greatest threat. This chart explains everything. Okay, look at the bottom line. That's what the market actually needs. It's rising slowly. Now look at that steep line rocketing upwards. That's sustaining innovation. That's what big, established companies do. They keep making their products better and better and better for their most demanding customers, until they're way overshooting what most people actually need or want to pay for. And you see that gap they create? That's where the third line comes in, disruptive innovation. It starts at the very bottom. It looks cheap, underpowered. Honestly, it looks like a toy. It's so easy to ignore. Until it gets just good enough, and suddenly it intersects with what the market needs and eats the whole thing from the bottom up. So, here's the really wild part. Great companies rarely get beaten by their direct rivals. They get blindsided. They get taken out by these disruptive little newcomers that they laughed at, that they dismissed as toys or not good enough. And the ultimate irony? They become vulnerable because they're doing everything right. They're listening to their best customers and giving them exactly what they ask for, which is precisely what every business school teaches you to do.
And this is the paradox at the heart of it all. It's so powerful. These huge, successful companies fail because their management is so good. I mean, think about it. They're doing all the right things, listening to their top customers, chasing bigger profit margins, investing in their most successful products. And by playing the game perfectly, they leave the door wide open at the bottom of the market for someone else to sneak in and change the rules completely.
Okay, so what happens when that disruption finally hits you? When the ground shifts beneath your feet and you're suddenly facing a threat to your very existence? Well, now we've reached the most raw, the most personal part of this entire journey. We've come to what Ben Horowitz calls the struggle.
Horowitz's writing on this is just visceral. He gives a name to that gut-wrenching feeling of pure pressure and dread that every single leader eventually faces. The struggle is when you wake up in a cold sweat wondering why you ever started this company. It's when you can't even hear what people are saying to you because the only thing you can hear is the roar of the struggle in your own head. And the most important thing to know is this: it is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're building something. It's part of the process. The real question isn't if you'll face the struggle, it's how you'll get through it.
And to get through it, Horowitz says your leadership style has to adapt. He breaks it down into 2 modes, peacetime and wartime. A peacetime CEO runs a company that isn't under immediate threat. They can focus on expanding the market, encouraging creativity, building consensus. But a wartime CEO, that's a completely different job. They're fighting for survival. The mission is everything. The focus has to be razor sharp. There's no time for disagreement. And knowing which time it is, well, that's one of the most critical jobs of a leader.
And maybe the biggest lesson from Horowitz is this: getting through the struggle isn't about being born fearless. Nobody is. It's about developing the skill of courage. You have to think of courage like a muscle. It gets stronger when you use it. You develop it by making those gut-wrenching calls, by doing the impossibly hard things, and by simply refusing to quit.
So, that's it. We've walked through the 5 key stages of this journey. The final lesson is just putting it all together.
So, here it is, the whole journey in one playbook. First, the spark. Find that intersection of your passion and a problem people will pay to solve. Second, the search. Remember, you're not executing a plan, you're searching for one with the build, measure, learn loop. Third, the hook. Build a painkiller, not a vitamin, and turn it into a habit. Fourth, the dilemma. Don't just watch your rivals. Watch for the disruptors coming up from below. And finally, the struggle. Embrace it. It's where you build the courage you need to win. So, you have the map. We pulled it together from some of the smartest people who've ever walked this path. But here's the truth. The map is not the territory. The journey itself? Well, that requires one last thing. An ingredient that no book or explainer can give you. It has to come from you.